Hello dear friends, welcome to the third session of this tutorial series. In this session we will learn how to design a very simple web page together. This web page will enable us to control our 5 relays. So let's dive into creating this fundamental yet effective interface. Alright then, let's begin together and explore what exactly this web page we've crafted truly contains right now. Alright, we have a main title, and following that we've inserted specific text for each of our 5 relays, detailing whether relay 1's current state is 0 or 1, and relays 2, 3, 4 and 5. Beneath each of these we've positioned a button. Utilizing these buttons we can either activate or deactivate that particular relay unit. Therefore, we're going to collaboratively create a very basic web page utilizing HTML and CSS code and learn how such a web page can be designed even when possessing absolutely no prior understanding of website development. To ensure you don't perceive this session as overly complex, I will now present the total code volume involved in this lesson. This is essentially the entirety of the code we have written for this specific section of our web page. You can see that it's designed to be completely brief and presents no particular difficulty. So, how do we go about implementing something like this? Quite often, if you lack the necessary expertise, for instance, someone proficient in HTML and CSS can simply begin to write code and is able to effortlessly write the code for the web page. But what should we do when we have absolutely no understanding of this at all? We must seek assistance from available resources or utilize websites and software applications that provide us with the necessary code by means of drag and drop functionality or through the methodical arrangement of various web page sections. Now, as this project is quite simple and purely for educational purposes, and we aren't aiming to implement any highly advanced features just yet, we will be writing the code ourselves, without the assistance of those sites and without that specific software. Now, how precisely should this code be written? Well, within this very page, we encounter various pieces of text, and these particular texts are fundamentally comprised of basic HTML elements. This means that with even the most basic search about HTML, you can quickly understand that when we write text using an H1 tag, it creates a heading in the largest possible size. Similarly, when we use an H2 tag, we're making another heading, but in a slightly smaller size, or when we write text with a P tag, it's just a paragraph. It means that it's just plain text, and we want it to be a small size and be recognized as simple text. So for this, no special instruction is required. With just the most basic HTML tutorial, a quick minute or 2 Google search will enable you to implement all the headings and text. Following this, to improve the aesthetic appeal of our work, we need to center our page. To achieve this centering content, you can conduct another search. Through this search, we'll discover that, for instance, if we incorporate this line of code you're currently viewing, along with the line directly above it. By placing this code within our HTML, we can effortlessly center the entirety of our web page. Please understand, I'm not presenting a comprehensive training course or a full tutorial. You simply need to perform a straightforward search. For instance, topics like how to center content in HTML, or it's highly advisable to progressively tackle your challenges by conducting searches in English. Leveraging English search queries will enable you to achieve your desired outcomes effortlessly and in the quickest possible time frame. The only part of this web page that might make the task a little challenging is the process of designing our buttons. Let's explore how we can collaboratively design these buttons. All you have to do is navigate to our beloved search engine, Google, and begin your search there. For example, we might type something like Let's discuss the button in HTML. There's a well-known and highly regarded website, W3 Schools, which is an exceptionally popular resource for anyone interested in learning programming. I highly recommend you visit it very frequently, as it can truly resolve many of your problems. For example, we've just searched for button in HTML here, and W3 Schools was the first result that popped up. So let's go ahead and open that to see what it has to offer us. Alright, as you can plainly see, it has given us two example code snippets right here. Initially, a remarkably simple code example is given, and subsequently, a more sophisticated code has been provided for us, serving the purpose of. There are some nicer looking buttons, in a way, and we utilize this second code in our particular project. Alright, let's examine the initial code. A really significant characteristic of this website is that you are able to. You can compile your code instantly online and view the outcome. As you can see, it states that to create a very simple button, you only need this single line of code. And here it suggests, try it yourself. Let's proceed and test it out together. We'll open this by clicking on it. Alright, as you can observe, the standard HTML code structure is present here, which is exceedingly straightforward. The initial line of every HTML file must be this code. Following that, we proceed to. We start our HTML, then we initiate our main body, and finally we conclude both the body and the HTML. It's really that simple, and here, just two lines were utilized. There is a heading, formatted with the H1 size, that you can observe being displayed right here. Following this, you will observe a button element has been provided which is visually apparent. Here, it initiates the button using the button tag. It says the type should be button. When we click it, it should give us an alert message that says, "Hello World." And what should our button be called? Click Me. So when we click on this Click Me button, we receive an alert message that says, "Hello World." We can instantly modify or change the code right here to suit our requirements and then immediately observe the result. For instance, I'll type in the code now. CWS electronic. And when I run it, now when I press the button, the alert message it gives us is CWS electronic. Thus, you have the ability to compile your code instantly and observe its immediate outcome. However, the very crucial point right now is that we have successfully incorporated a button. We can definitely incorporate it into our code. However, its visual appeal might not be as pleasing, especially when contrasted with the buttons you currently observe here. So what exactly do we do then? We proceed to implement the second option that was recommended to us. This marks our second illustration. As you will note, our code expands a bit, and with this expansion, it proceeds to generate two attractive green and blue buttons for us, presenting a refined appearance and a more considerable dimension. Alright, it's evident that this is now extremely close to our desired outcome, allowing us to proceed with its utilization. Now, I would like to explain to you how this specific code, which you see right here, came into being. It is actually quite straightforward and uncomplicated. Look, if we have absolutely no understanding or knowledge in any particular field, let's just say, if we possess zero knowledge in any given area, then naturally, no progress can be made, and nothing will really get accomplished. This means even if you possess absolutely no knowledge of HTML and CSS, or how to code in them, it's essential to at least grasp the fundamental structure. And when you possess a very fundamental understanding of that language's structure, you might be able to accomplish certain tasks with it. So here, we observed that the fundamental components we desired were successfully generated for us. Now we want a single color button here. We don't want the green color anymore. So, what exactly can we do? Here, it provides an example, and if I were to briefly explain its overall structure to you, it has placed a CSS code for us here that says the general specifications of our button should be like this. With these specified dimensions, for example, the text should be white and centered. All the necessary design elements and functional requirements for this particular button are included here for our convenience. But then it came and created a separate CSS code here. It says that our button 1's background color should be this. Our button 2's color should be this specific one. And then, when we proceed to create the button, it instructs us to use the button class and generate button 1, labeled as green. Our first button was green, so it is thus generated. So, for example, to remove the green color here, what do? We just delete this green line entirely. We incorporate this background color directly into our primary CSS code. And then here, we get rid of button 1 and button 2 and just tell it to show the button directly. Now, upon running it, you'll observe that both buttons have indeed turned blue. That's because this specific blue hue is integrated into our overall structure. We were able to accomplish that task with such remarkable simplicity. Now, let's look here to see what additional code I had put in place. For example, regarding centering, I mentioned that these two specific lines are necessary. Alright, let's take these two lines and integrate them into our primary code. Then we'll see what happens next. As you can clearly observe, our web page has been perfectly centered. So, up to this point we've done a lot of the necessary work. So what is the next step? It concerns the titles that we had previously embedded within our code. For instance, these 3 lines, we'll go ahead and replace them with the title that the site itself provided for us. You can see that these changes were applied with ease. And what is our final adjustment? We have implemented an alternation here, inserting a line of text followed by a command to construct a button in an alternating pattern. Therefore, we proceed to incorporate these particular lines of code in place of the 2 previous buttons. Well, as you can now clearly see, our web page has achieved its ultimate look. And what is the sole remaining task? It's for us to proceed and incorporate links into our buttons. This means when we click on one of the buttons, for example, I have arrived at the main website. For example, when we click on our first relay button, here it writes RL1 for us, meaning it wants to go to the link RL1 relay 1. Or for 4, it's RL4. Please keep this in mind as we will require it later in programming. We're going to add a link to each of our buttons. Adding a link looks like this. Again, for example, we didn't encounter this in our usual structure, which presented the straightforward arrangement of our buttons, nor was it explained to us here how we should go about implementing it. Well, for this, we simply need to perform another brief search to discover how to properly incorporate a link into our existing buttons. Our standard button was originally configured in such a way that it lacked this specific section completely. And this section is designed to add a link to every single button. As you can see, for the very first button we've set its link to RL1, then RL2, and so on to RL5. And just like that, we were able to create our HTML code. Now all we have to do is copy all of this and simply save it into an HTML file. And then, as you can observe, when we open it in the browser, I've saved it as an HTML file right on my desktop, and you'll see that it displays perfectly fine. The process for saving it involves first creating a new file in your notepad, then pasting the code within it. Finally, name the file as you wish, ensuring it has the HTML extension, and with that, your code will execute effortlessly. And that concludes this specific session and the tutorial on how to construct this web page that you currently see. And in our very last session, we will be writing our completed code, then uploading it to the board, and ultimately observing the final outcome. I truly hope this tutorial proved beneficial for you. Until our next videos, farewell.